So you're wondering if you should be including coffee on your carnivore diet. Well, today I'm going to be answering all your questions and lay out the pros and a lot of the cons that consuming coffee can have on a carnivore diet. And finding the best answer to this question, should you be consuming coffee on a carnivore diet, will really depend entirely on your own unique health goals, the strictness that you want to follow, the pleasure of sipping your morning cup of coffee can give you, and really your current state of health. Now, here's the thing. If sticking to your values, sticking to the plan, sticking to the rules, if you will, of a carnivore diet is most important to you, then no, coffee is not permitted on the carnivore diet because you exclude all plant sources of food and drinks. You're really just following a meat-only diet because technically all plant toxins are eliminated on the carnivore diet. That's one of the main reasons that people choose to go carnivore, is to improve some sort of health condition and to eliminate a lot of the toxins that plants can come with. And on the other hand, some people that follow a carnivore diet say that because coffee is 0 calories, it's low carb, it can really help support some other functions that we're going to talk about today, then it's okay to include on their carnivore diet. And maybe you just don't want to give it up because it's a part of your diet, your ritual that you like, and that's okay too. I just want to lay out some pros and cons to see which is best for you. Now, if you're curious and maybe debating on including coffee in your diet, there's a couple pros and some cons that we're going to lay out today. So let's jump into those now. Now, first, talking about the cons of coffee consumption, especially on a carnivore diet. The first con about coffee is that it contains high levels of plant toxins, specifically mycotoxins. Now, these are molds that are typically found in cereal grains, nuts, beer, dried fruit, fruit juices, wine, and even coffee. Now, even in small amounts, mycotoxins are pretty harmful for human health. These are well-known carcinogens. They cause cancer. Now, the two most prevalent molds, mycotoxins, found in coffee are ochratoxin A and aflatoxins. Studies have linked both of these toxins to DNA damage, liver damage, kidney damage, and even suppressing immunity. If you are going to drink coffee, the number one thing that I'd recommend is sourcing a high-quality coffee bean that is tested to be free of these mycotoxins. This doesn't include the Folgers and Maxwell House that I saw my grandparents grew up on. These are definitely not mold tested. And now keep in mind, the only way to really know if a coffee is mold tested is to ask the company for their lab reports. You might be able to find this information on a company's website, but you can always directly ask them. Hopefully they're willing to share it with you because that's really the only way that you're going to know if the coffee that you're consuming is mold free. Now, aside from these molds and mycotoxins, coffee is also a very high source of pesticides. Even if it is labeled organic, it's still probably going to contain a very minute amount that can make an impact if you're consuming this day after day. What's even more problematic than maybe the pesticides is that coffee is a source of acrylamide. There isn't much that we can do with acrylamide because this is just a natural process of the coffee roasting process. When you're cooking and heating up and roasting the beans, acrylamide is formed. Acrylamide is another known carcinogen, and just small daily hitters of this can really add up over time, but there are ways that you can lessen your exposure to acrylamide if you still want to drink your coffee. If you go with a light roast, preferably my favorite, or a dark roast, you're going to have naturally lower levels of acrylamide, whereas medium roasts tend to have a lot more levels of acrylamide. Another thing to consider with this conversation about plant toxins and acrylamide is that if you're following a carnivore diet, because you're already eliminating all these other sources of plant toxins like dried fruits, leafy greens, other vegetables, beer, and wine, you're going to be getting far fewer amounts of all these toxins if coffee is really your only source of these plant toxins. Now, another potential con of consuming coffee on a carnivore diet is that it can potentially wreck your gut and worsen digestive symptoms. One of the main reasons, if not the main reason, that most people choose to go carnivore is to help with digestive issues, and it works for a lot of people. According to a recent study done by Harvard, over 2,000 individuals tested, 90% of them saw benefits when they went on a carnivore diet. And because coffee contains a lot of these chemicals that I just talked about, it can worsen some digestive issues in certain individuals. So maybe coffee is good for you, maybe not. It's something that you just might need to experiment with a little bit. Now, the third con of consuming coffee on a carnivore diet is that coffee can spike insulin levels to a certain degree, depending on your bio-individuality. Now, science has shown that if you're an individual that already struggles with blood sugar imbalances, type 2 diabetes, maybe pre-diabetes, then a little bit of caffeine can actually raise and prolong the period of your raised blood sugar levels. One way to mitigate this is by blending healthy fats with your coffee. This is something I've been doing for 9, almost 10 years now. I like to blend a little bit of butter and MCT oil. That's from coconut derived, so that's not going to be on the carnivore diet, but that's something I personally like to do, is blend a little bit of healthy fats. Maybe that's ghee or butter, and blending these fats with your coffee can actually help to keep blood sugar levels stable. Now, the last con of including coffee on your carnivore diet is that coffee can contribute to existing anxiety and sleep issues. Caffeine is the most abused stimulant in the entire world, and this is well known. It keeps us up at night and can really worsen stress and anxiety. But one of the most beautiful things about the carnivore diet is that it's full of so many essential nutrients that are great and supportive of the nervous system. By default, the carnivore diet, you're eliminating a lot of the known triggers that worsen sleep, like sugar, alcohol, even teas and chocolate can also inhibit sleep quality, and other mood disorders and nervous system disorders. By default, you're eliminating a lot of those already. So will including coffee on your carnivore diet be that big of an issue? Again, it's going to come down to the bio-individuality and what works for you. So if you are somebody out there that does struggle with sleep or anxiety related issues, you just have to play around with coffee and see if it worsens your symptoms or not. Now, there are plethora of reasons that you may want to include coffee in your diet because science has really shown that they can come with a lot of health benefits. And a few of those are that the first one is that coffee can really support brain function. There have been dozens of studies that have found that coffee may help protect against certain neurodegenerative disorders like Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease. A few studies have even found that coffee is linked to a lower risk of depression. Some more studies have found that daily coffee consumption can help with liver function. It also can support heart health, athletic performance, and it might even extend your lifespan. Again, these benefits are backed up by dozens, hundreds of different studies. So this really comes down to you. Just experiment a little bit. If you're on the carnivore diet, odds are you'd like to experiment a little bit and figure out how to make yourself the best possible version of you that you can be. So it really just comes down to, do you like coffee? Does it make you feel good? Is it impacting your quality of life? What are the risk to reward ratios in consuming this cup of coffee? I just wanted to be able to give you the pros versus the cons to figure out if you should be including coffee on your carnivore diet. And ultimately, whether you consume coffee on your diet is going to largely be determined by your own health goals. If you don't include it now, maybe you will include it later, or vice versa. It's going to come down to where you're at in your life now. But I know for myself, I love the ritual, the morning ritual of brewing a cup of coffee, whether that's a shot of espresso, making a latte, or just making a nice pour over cup of coffee. That brings me more joy than anything. It's just knowing how to balance it. Maybe I swap out a little bit of the caffeine, like 3 weeks caffeine, 1 week decaf, or what I'm a major fan of is doing half and half, or even a third, 1/3 caffeine to 2/3 decaf. That way I'm still getting a lot of maybe the benefits that coffee has to offer without a lot of the stimulation that the caffeine has to offer. So there's many ways you can play around with this, but let me know in the comment section below. Are you keeping coffee on your carnivore diet? If not, why? If yes, why are you including it on your diet? But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Share this out with somebody that you know needs to see it most, and I'll talk to you next time.